So hello from Green-Mopeds in London. So today I thought I'd come outside for a change and talk to you about the latest two models from Super Soco V-Moto. We have talked about this one before. This is the TC Wanderer and this is its sibling, if you like. This is the TS Street Hunter. So we'll do what we normally do, go around the bikes, talk to you about them, and hopefully that will help you make an informed decision. So let's get to it. Okay, so V-Moto don't really need any introduction. They've been around, well, in fact we sold our first one in 2018, and they were around before that, but maybe the range does. So currently there are 5 models in the range. There was 6, the original TS, which was around in 2017, but basically the entry-level bikes that V-Moto now do are the TC and the TSX. The first thing to say about these bikes in general is these bikes are technically the same underneath, they just have different bodies. So the TC and TSX are the same underneath, 1.5 kilowatt continuous and 3 kilowatts max. But they are 28 mile an hour bikes. When they originally came out in 2018, the TC was the first one, then the TSX followed. There was an option to de-restrict them. So they came out as 50cc moped licenses, 28 mile an hour. And if you followed a procedure that you can find on other reviews that we did, you could get that to go over 40. So it was great. You could have a bike that you could start off as a 50cc license. If you wanted to go a bit faster, you could make sure you got your CVT so you could do a 125cc equivalent license, and then just de-restrict it and off you go at 40 miles an hour. Interestingly, what was originally planned for this bike was that these two bikes were going to replace the TC and TSX. Okay, and they were going to come in 2 versions, the 28 mile an hour and the 45 mile an hour. But possibly because they've still got stock left of TCs and TSXs, what they actually decided to do was stop the ability for the TC and TSX to be de-restricted. And that is the case. That procedure that you find on the internet doesn't work, and if you have a later model of the TC TSX, we have tested this so we do know, you cannot de-restrict the TC and TSX like you used to. Certainly not through the procedure that you see on the internet, and not even with the firmware rollback, which is what we can sometimes do for people. Okay, so basically what they've done is they've created this lineup of 28 mile an hour TSX and TC, 45 mile an hour Hunter and Wanderer. But as I say, originally the Hunter and Wanderer were going to come in both 28 mile an hour versions or 45 mile an hour versions, but not a de-restrict option. Okay, so you had to choose. Okay, in some respects it's unfortunate. People do like that ability to de-restrict the bikes, but that's the choice they've made. Okay, so about these two bikes, 45 miles an hour. Okay, so these are fairly and squarely in the 125cc license camp. Okay, they are still hub motor. The next one up, of course, is the TC Max. Next year there will be another bike from them called the Stash, which you might have started seeing. That will be a next year bike. Don't think it's coming out in 2023. It's been talked about for years. It is coming, that's for sure, but by the time it sort of lands and gets through everything, it will be next year's bike. That will be above the TC Max. Okay, so if you want a sort of entry-level 125cc equivalent license bike in a motorbike form, then this is possibly your best choice. If you think about it, actually, V-Moto have sort of wrapped up this market other than the Horwin CR6. And what I mean by that is in this class. Obviously there are other brands available, but in the motorbike class they've sort of own it. There's obviously 5 models. No one else does 5 models unless you're getting into the sort of 0 territory. Okay, so they have actually got this market mostly to themselves, apart from Horwin CR6 and then maybe some others that we're looking at. Okay, but anyway, back to this bike. So the first thing you will notice if you ever compared it to a TC or a TSX, which we did on the other review of the Wanderer, is that just how much more presence it has and more body it has. Okay, so even if you put it next to a TC Max, which is, you know, the fastest bike they currently do, this one looks like it's got more presence. And in some respects, the Stash will fix that by making it the sort of flagship bike with a more aggressive body style like this. But if you put this next to a TC, you will feel that it's bigger, because it is, body-wise it's bigger. Okay, so its weight has increased a little bit over the TCs and TSXs. It's now 103 kilos. Okay, what they've also done is they've upgraded the battery. The batteries are not compatible between the TC and TSXs. Okay, these are different connectors, and in fact I can show you that. One of the interesting little things is now that the lid opens this way. Okay, and although they look the same size, you can see from this angle here just how deep the body goes. So on the TC and TSX, the battery top comes to about this level here. So they've made it go a lot deeper. They've obviously rearranged all the mechanics inside, and you get these 32 amp hour batteries, and you get a different battery clip, right? And one of the things that people who own TCs and TSXs should appreciate is that this hopefully fixes the pin issue that you've probably seen. Okay, so these are now clipped firmly in place. Okay, and 32 amp hour lithium ion, obviously weighing about 10 or 11 kilos. Okay, obviously without the second battery you have decent storage, although I'll show you the tray that comes with it, which gives you storage as well for the charger. While we're talking about storage, one of the things that you have to be aware of about these two bikes is that even though they have holes for a rack, there is no rack. The Wanderer doesn't have one either. I haven't got to the bottom of that's just because they haven't done it yet, or it's not available in the UK. But it is interesting to note that they do have the lugs for the rack here and here, but there is no rack. Okay, so while we're at it on this one, this is basically what you get in the box. So this is your second key and the manual, and quite importantly, this gives you access to the app. Okay, so both these bikes have an app. Well, in fact, all Super Socos have an app, and that allows you to track the bike, test the bike, although I wouldn't hold too much faith in that testing app part. Normally the error codes will tell you what you need to know. And then here you go, this is your actual tray. So as you can see, it's good enough to take the charger, which was always an issue since they upgraded the chargers to 10 amp. Okay, so this is also a 10 amp charger. Okay, as you can see, again, obviously not compatible with other Super Socos because the connector's different, but it's 10 amp all the same. So what that means is you can charge one battery in 3.5 hours, okay, and two batteries obviously in twice that time. Okay, if you want to charge the batteries through the bike, it's underneath here, or obviously you can take the batteries out and charge them individually, or buy a second charger and charge them both together. Okay, should have mentioned underneath here there is also a kill switch. Okay, down there. Okay, so you're supposed to flip that when you charge them, take the batteries out. Interestingly, or not, they have now not locked the battery in. So on the TC and TSX, the main battery was actually locked in place. Okay, so even if you could get under the lid, you couldn't take the battery out without the key. Okay, they don't have that protection in this bike, so you're sort of relying on that cover to protect you. Not that batteries get stolen, to be honest. Haven't really seen it. Batteries on there and get stolen. So just while we're at the front, some other things to talk about. So these are still 17-inch wheels. Okay, and as you can see, discs front and back. They've changed the brake system here. And also what you get included, which was an extra on the TC, is the screen. Okay, that was not part of the standard features of a TC. You could add it. See the actual design, especially on the Hunter, is quite an aggressive look, and it's got these sort of fins here, which I've seen more and more. Honda Sandero do that on their little scooters. A lot of the sort of switchgear and that you'll probably recognise. This dash is almost certainly from the TC. These mirrors are certainly from the TC. Handlebars and handlebar ends are different. This is probably the same. On the Hunter, this dash is probably still from the TSX. Okay. All right, so that's that. A couple of other things to highlight is you note here it is actually showing both the batteries connected. Okay, on the TC there was no second lead. There was a sort of aftermarket way of connecting in a second battery, but it wasn't a standard part of the bike. Okay, so at least now, especially on the TC and on the TS Hunter, you would get a second bar here for the second battery. Okay. Well, as we're talking about batteries, so 60-32 amp hour, which is an increase over the 60-30 amp hour that the TSX and TC had. Range is quoted at 53 kilometers per battery, which is actually about 43 miles. As usual, that's probably best case. I still would say it's going to be 35, maybe 40, okay, that you're going to get out of it. But it should give you, enough to do a commute and things like that. And don't forget, it is at 45 miles an hour, not 30 miles an hour. Okay. So what else is there to tell you? Mention that there's no rack colours. So there are 3 colours on the Hunter. There were actually 4, but the grey is not bought in by V-Moto UK. Okay, and on the Wanderer there is a rather nice sort of sky blue, this racing green which they've carried over from the TC, and then a sort of darker black as well, and then the original yellowy sort of tan colour, I guess sort of quite a bit like this as the major colour. Okay, on that bike, but as you can see, unlike the other bikes, they're very much two-tone. Okay. All right. So as for other things, obviously still on the grant, so that means you've got £500 off, and we'll talk about prices in a minute. You get 3-year warranty on the batteries and 2-year warranty on the bike. Okay, so obviously that's a good thing for peace of mind. Okay, and then the other sort of piece of good news is that the current price of this is that there's a sale on. So the single battery of either of these bikes is £2,999, so £3,000, and the dual battery is only 3.5. Okay, and it should be for £2,999 for dual battery and £3,799 for dual battery. Okay, so now's the time to buy, I guess. Not sure about how long that sale is going to continue. It's been going on for a little bit of time now, but yeah, if you're in the market in the next, I guess, I estimate next 2 or 3 weeks, something's going to change on pricing. Okay. Is there anything negative to say about this bike? One little thing that I've noticed is that, see, in the UK, you attach L plates. You will struggle to attach an L plate to these forks, okay, mainly because of the turn. We've just tried it on this bike actually, and there's no real way to get a number plate onto this fork without hitting that. Okay, so you're ending up having to stick it on this. Okay, obviously not a big issue, but something that I have noticed. Okay, other things to point out. Seat height is quite high at 92, so it might be a little bit high for some people, but otherwise they're good little bikes. You'll see the ride review we've done on the Wanderer. We'll do another one on the Hunter, but as I said, they are technically the same, so don't expect anything different. All right, so hopefully that's will help you with your research. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at hello@green-mopeds.com, Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to see this and other reviews, and thanks very much.